Take 3. Maybe people will stop calling me while I'm trying to talk to y'all. Please, Lord, let me let me remember all the things that I've already said to y'all. Oh no, he's got a knife. That ain't a knife. This is a knife. This is the Ontario RTAK 2. Ontario Knife Company, USA. Can you all see that? There you go. This is a large knife. That is literally the definition of this type of knife, is a large fixed blade knife. I'm gonna wear this as a mustache from now on. Hello, welcome. So, you're probably asking yourself, or at least I would be, why does that giant bearded dummy have a fixed blade knife out? Why is he sweating? Well, it's just about 11 a.m., 25 May, not June or July or August, 25 May. It's about 90 degrees right now in Nowhere, Oklahoma, with about 75 to 80% humidity. It's hot. My shirt is sticking to me. It's yucks. See this? See how like it perfectly follows the contours of the interplay between this muscle and this muscle, whose names escape me right now. Trapezius and deltoid. There we go. Anyway, right, it's hot out here. It's ugly. There's flies flying all around me. I'm out here burning brush. And the reason I'm burning brush, anecdotally, is because that brush pile right there has snakes in it. And I don't like snakes near my children. And I know snakes are a vital part of our ecosystem and then blah, 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 and I don't care. Because about half of the snakes that could live here are pit vipers. And my children, while very smart, don't necessarily know the difference between a pit viper and a non-venomous snake at first glance. So I'm mitigating that risk by burning this brush to eliminate habitat for snakes of all types. And if it makes you feel any better, that habitat wasn't there a couple months ago anyway. I put it there when I dropped a couple trees. So, you know, zero-sum game. I'm destroying something I created. Nothing more, nothing less. Good. Now that we've had all these environmental caveats, the reason I'm burning brush is to get rid of that brush pile. And I'm burning this brush that I've processed with a bow saw and with this RTAK 2. Taking these, what were limbs, and into this pile of stuff right here, which is then getting thrown on this fire to be burnt. This is mostly longleaf pine. There's a little bit of pignut hickory and pecan in there. A very little bit. And the hardwoods, the nut trees, the pecans and the hickories, are significantly harder than a longleaf pine. And they burn hotter, and they make significantly better tasting food when you cook over the top of it. But they are murder to process by hand as compared to the pine. So, I told you all of that. John Lisicatos, blah, 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 blah. Just posted on YouTube. I will get back to you, brother. So, I'm making this video to point out that this is a lot of work. I work outside or in ambient temperatures about 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Sometimes 14 or 16 hours a day. I'm not a snowflake. I'm not a P-word. I am not a new wave male, beta male that seems to be infecting our society these days. I know how to do work. And I'm telling you, this is a lot of work. And so if you're carrying around a 3.5 pound total weight camp axe on your bug out bag so that you can process firewood and build a shelter for you to live in for a night because you're bugging out, that's bad weight. So instead of a camp axe, I carry this to process wood with. And it works wonderfully, especially in softwoods like longleaf pine. These flies are driving me nuts. Go stand by the fire. The smoke will keep them away. These things are like bionic. The smoke doesn't even faze them. I think they get off on it. You know, they're like, I don't know. We're not gonna go there. But they're into the smoke. Look, fly away, little fly. So, the point being here, what I'm trying to drive at for the third time in this video, take 3, is if you're carrying around bad weight so that you can build improvised shelters in the woods when you bug out, that's ridiculous. You're going to burn a lot of time, a lot of calories, and a lot of energy making a temporary structure. Now, you're gonna have to replace those time, calorie, and energies, right? Energy, calories, and energy, as well as the water that you sweat out and the electrolytes that you sweated out. You got to get that back from somewhere. It's going to take more time, more calories, and more energy to recover what you expended building your temporary shelter with your pack axe or your whatever. So a much better idea would be, number 1, don't bug out at all. Number 2, if you are bugging out, have a sleep system. Get you a 1.5 pound ultralight tent, and a sleeping pad, and a ground sheet, and a bivy bag. All that's going to weigh the same as your axe does. It's going to be much better weight. It's going to be reusable. And you're not going to have to burn a whole bunch of time, calorie, and energy to put all that stuff up, rather than swinging this over and over and over and over and over again. And it's not that this doesn't cut well. I mean, it does. You know. I don't know if you saw that, but there's 2 swings right through that. So it cuts well, but that's a lot of swinging this thing. And for what? For an improvised shelter, you'll be in a night, maybe a couple of nights, maybe worst case scenario, a week. You're bugging out, right? And if you're bugging out, you better have a bug out location, which means you better have shelter there when you get there. So unless you don't, I mean, if your plan is to build a Abraham Lincoln log cabin when you get to your bug out location, I guess, yeah, bring the axe. That's a shitty plan, dude. I'm sorry, but that's less than ideal. So there we go. See that? That's a less than ideal plan. So, as always, just be ultra realistic about your capabilities and your situation. Swinging this is not ideal. And it's 11 a.m. and I'm hot and I'm sweaty and ready to go inside, drink some cool water, and be done with this for a while. But if I was doing this for real, I would be swinging this thing as little as possible. I would be using that knife as little as possible. And I know an axe has multiple uses. You can, you know, it's an edged weapon, T, and a tool. You can use it for skinning small game if you have to. I have news for you. This is significantly better at skinning small game. See this little knife? This is the Ontario RAT3, Ontario Knife Company, USA. Hard use, my edge, because this is not the climate controlled, air conditioned, reviewing table channel. This is the my real life that y'all are along for the ride for channel, where I use my equipment daily in a lot of cases. And so because of that, I can tell you that this is much better than an axe for small game. And this is much better than an axe for having tied onto your pack if you have to process wood to build a shelter or build a fire. a small fire. But you shouldn't be building a shelter in the first place. You should already have that on your back. Because on the worst day of your life, you're bugging out. The world's gone to hell in a handbasket, and it's you and your skills and your equipment standing in between survival and statistic. The less weight you have to take, the better. And if when you get there to wherever you're going, you're done for the end of the day, you're done hiking and walking around and whatever, now you're gonna whip your axe out and spend an hour, 2 hours felling trees everywhere you go to build a shelter. Or would it be better to just unroll your sleeping pad, crawl into your bivvy, and call it a night? So, now this is gonna make some people mad. That's okay. This is me telling you what I think. Y'all are welcome to do whatever you like to do, and I won't judge you. But I'm telling you, for me, the guy who owns a half a dozen axes, good axes, Gransfors Bruks felling axes, because cutting timber was my job for a good while, and I made a lot of money doing it. I know a lot about swinging an axe, and believe me when I tell you, there's better ways to subsist in the wilderness than to be swinging an axe all the time. So the less calories you have to burn at the end of your day or during your day, the less calories you need to replace. The less you sweat, that little sweat right there on the edge of the knife, the less of that you got coming out of you, the less you have to put back in. That's gonna mean you can move faster, you can move longer, you can move harder. And that's going to get you from where you are to where you need to be quicker. So that's my thoughts on that. I hope take 3 was decent. I'll have to watch back and see. It's the first one we actually got all the way through. So shalom. It's Friday. It's a day of prep. And then we have the Sabbath tomorrow, Shabbat. So if I talk to y'all tomorrow, if I record a video for y'all tomorrow, it'll be a study on God's Word, and I've not been led one way or the other on that yet, but we shall see. So I'll talk to y'all later, and bye.